Hey, what's up you guys? You're watching Team APS. In today's video, I'm going to share with you my personal picks for pretty good side deck cards in the upcoming format. These aren't necessarily the best side deck cards, and like I said, it's just my opinion, so like calm down kiddies, don't take it too seriously. But I will explain why I think that they're good, and at the end of the video I also want you to leave comments with your own decisions for what you think are good side deck cards for the coming months. So the first one's Imperial Iron Wall. I think this is pretty much a given. Everybody sort of knows that this card is going to be extremely useful, largely just for Cosmos. I mean, there will always be other rogue deck that it's useful against. Ritual Beast I think will still be kind of a relevant deck in the meta, so I think it'll be useful against them. It'll also be useful against, you know, the Infernoid players that you kind of see here and there. But definitely it's going to be a way to deal with Cosmos. Obviously, it stops things like Farm Girl and Good Witch from even activating, and it also stops the larger ships from floating, and that's a huge deal because in addition to the fact that they can't float or get their effects, it also means that they don't go to the Banish Zone for a Cosmo Town to recycle them, and once most Cosmos monsters are in the grave, it's pretty, you know, it's not really a way to get them back, so, you know, not reliably anyway. So that's kind of the main reason why I like this card. It's pretty obvious, so not gonna really waste a lot of time talking about it. Just put 2 or 3 copies in your side deck and you should be fine. Next is Anti-Spell Fragrance. So everybody kind of wants a way to deal with the oncoming storm of pendulum monsters, and this is definitely one of the better ways to do it. Anti-Spell Fragrance just says neither player can activate spell cards without setting them first, and since you can't set cards to the pendulum zone, you simply can't activate them at all. And so that's really nice. Also, it's cool because it kind of protects itself from MST for like a turn. So your opponent can't immediately MST Anti-Spell Fragrance. Once it's up, they'll have to at least, you know, give it a turn, which gives you a turn, which in Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now is a big deal to have an extra turn to play and garner some field presence and prepare yourself for oncoming threats. So definitely a decent card. It's not actually really my favorite. I'm not a huge fan of the sort of like floodgate style traps, especially not this one because it doesn't feel like it's as oppressive, but it is a good card, so might as well include it anyway. Next is Storming Mirror Force. So I'm a bit on the fence about this card, and I think I'm far from the only person, but Storming Mirror Force is a very cool card because it's like Mirror Force except bounces back to the hand. This is mainly being seen as useful against Magispectors because they can't be targeted and they can't be destroyed by card effects. So you have to find some sort of way to deal with them, some sort of way to, like, you know, banish them without targeting or balance them. And so this seems like pretty much the perfect solution. Puts them all back in the hand. My only gripe with this is that, you know, it doesn't exactly deal with the problem. They're just sent back to their hand. So you'll obviously want to use this after they pendulum summon for the turn. If you can send enough Magispectors back to their hand, then in the end phase, they might actually end up having to discard some of them to the graveyard. That's kind of nice. But yeah, it's a pretty decent card. They can still like chain some of their spells and traps and stuff like that. So I'm not like entirely sold on this being the best possible side deck card, but I do think it's really good, and it does also help a little bit against things like Cosmos as well. So you might as well at least consider the card. It might even be a staple in main decks. Next is Majesty's Fiend. And I mean, I guess you can include Vanity's Fiend in here, but I'm just kind of gonna say Majesty's Fiend. Both of the cards are very effective floodgate monsters. I actually think that they'll be even better because of cards like the Monarch Stormforth, which could be kind of useful. The reason why I say Majesty's Fiend is because, you know, against Cosmos, they obviously won't be able to use Farm Girl and Good Witch and all the other nice little things, and so they won't be able to summon their big ship. So if you summon this card early, you can effectively shut them down if they can't out it with, like, you know, Raigeki or something. And the same actually goes even for, you know, even for just any other small decks. Magispectors can deal with it with their spells and traps, so that can be a bit of an issue, but I really do like this card. I really do think that it's one of the better just sort of floodgatey monsters, and something cool about it, or summoning it with something like Monarch Stormforth, is that Monarch Stormforth does not target and it doesn't destroy, so it's kind of a way that you can get around a lot of those cards that are largely immune to those style of effects. So you know the ones. So very useful card, definitely one that I would include. Like I said, it and like Vanity's Fiend, they're both really good. Next up is Fog King or Mask of Restrict. So I include both of these because research has told me that Fog King is actually a pretty decent card. For those of you who don't know what it does, it's just like a level 7 monster, I think. And you can tribute summon it by only tributing one monster if you want, or even no monsters, but it'll have 0 attack. Its attack is equal to the attack of everything you use to tribute summon it, so if you tribute like 2 monsters, it'll probably be really big. But anyway, Fog King's effect is that neither player can tribute monsters. It's the same as Mask of Restrict's effect. So very, very cool because since your opponent can't tribute things, that means that Magispectors cannot actually use any of their spell and trap cards because they all involve tributing monsters. And it also means that if you're facing an opposing Monarch player, that they won't be able to actually tribute summon Monarchs at all. So very, 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 very cool. And it even actually stops little random effects you might not even expect. Like say they're using enemy controller or something like that, you know, they won't be able to use that card either because, you know, still have to tribute. So very cool card. And the alternative, like I said, is Mask of Restrict, which is just sort of the Floodgate trap version. They both have their ups and downs. I mean, Fog King is a monster. It has attack points. You know, it's got legs. You can attack with it and defend with it, and you know those type of things. Whereas Mask of Restrict is just a trap. You can't really search either one that I'm aware of, not reliably. But Mask of Restrict is it's susceptible, to things like MST. So, but you know, they're both good cards. Just kind of pick one or the other, whichever one works better for your deck. You can use like Stormforth to summon Fog King. That's kind of nice. So either one of those. Next is one of the cards I like. I don't know that it'll necessarily be like incredible or anything, but it's Full House. Full House is just this trap, and you destroy 2 face-up spell and trap cards and 3 set spell and trap cards in the field from either player's side. So this is really cool because in theory you could destroy 2 Pendulum Scales and a bunch of their set cards. And another neat part about this card is that if all the requirements aren't on their field, like if they don't have 3 set cards and 2 face-up spell and trap cards, then you can destroy stuff on your side of the field too, and that's kind of neat. The only gripe, of course, is that this is a kind of slow situational trap. It's not immediately useful, so if your opponent doesn't have any cards set, then, you know, and you don't either, or something like that, then you still won't be able to destroy their Pendulum Scales and stuff like that. So it's kind of useful. It can get rid of Floodgates and just back row heavy decks in general that also use Floodgates. So, you know, things like Yosenju, things like, I wanted to say Satellar Knight, stuff like that. So it's a really useful card. I like the idea of it. I don't think it's going to be like super optimal, but it's just kind of something fun to try out. So I decided to include it in the list anyway. So Full House. Next is Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. If this doesn't become like a main deck staple, I definitely think it'll be a side deck one. I really hope it gets reprinted soon because it's a really good card, and it's like just not quite worth a price tag to just be an annoying secret rare that's really hard to pull. But the card I can vouch for is very good. It's a really useful out to things like Ptolemaeus, which, you know, Cyber Dragon Infinity is coming, so like a way to stop Ptolemaeus reliably is always nice. Ptolemaeus. And it's also just really good because it can stop, you know, like field spell effects and certain spell and trap card effects. You know, the card's really useful. I just hope it gets reprinted soon is honestly more of my gripe with it right now, so. I do think it's going to become a staple. I do think it's useful against like pendulums. You can actually destroy pendulum scales with it in some situations, so that's neat. But yeah, the card needs to get reprinted so everybody can use it. And the last card is Mind Drain. I really only say this because like Psy-frames exist. I don't like the idea of like siding a card specifically for one deck. It's kind of why I didn't include like Poisonous Winds on this list, you know, because it's good against Magispectors, but it's only good against like one thing. So I'm kind of opposed to those cards. But Mind Drain is pretty useful. Depending on the deck that you're facing, it's actually very useful. I mean, obviously it's the anti-Psy-frame card, but it can stop Veiler, Maxi, Ghost Ogre. I don't know that I would like be a big fan of preemptively siding it because you assume that like maybe your opponent's gonna side in a lot of hand traps, but you know, you never know. And if something like say Mermails got really big, they summon Megalo and Abyss and cards like that. So you know, against them it's also good. One of the more questionable ones, but you might as well include it in your side deck early on. I mean, you know, there are a billion other decisions, so. Next is Shared Ride / Mistaken Arrest / Mistake. I'm not really sure which of these cards will be the best, and I'm not going to make some bold assumption that this is the best card in every situation. It's just so much better. No, it's not like that. One of these cards will be useful. I mean, you could even throw like Mind Crush into that if you wanted to. Mistake and Arrest is great. You know, it's kind of a one-time use thing, so if you don't like Mistake, if your deck still needs to search, then Mistake and Arrest is just long enough to sort of push your opponent back for like one turn. And Mistake's just the more like, no, like we're gonna sit this card here, and as long as this is here, no one's searching ever. But it is slower, it's a trap, and you know, it can get MST'd. And then Shared Ride's the sure, search all you want, but I'm gonna get draws from it. And I don't think it's quite as effective now because like Necroz isn't really a thing, so you'll seldom find a deck that searches more than like maybe twice in a turn, sort of. Anyway, I don't know which of these cards will be the best, but I think that of the three, one of them will at least be consistently sided, so definitely something to look at. So those were some of my picks for good, cool, awesome side deck cards for next format. There are loads of others that I missed. I mean, you know, that's kind of the idea of this video, is list the side deck cards that you think will be useful in the upcoming format. What cards do you think will be good? Why do you think they'll be good? Against what, you know? And I hope this gave you guys some ideas, just things to think about. I think that all these cards can work in most decks, so that should help out. But yeah, the upcoming format's gonna be interesting. It's cool to see that like we finally get to take, you know, Shadow Imprisoning Mirrors and stuff out of our sides for more or less the time being. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Looking forward to this upcoming format. It seems like it's gonna be fun, and side decking is always a really important part of any format, so. Alright, that's the video. Remember, if you want to win a box of Dimension of Chaos provided by TCG Player, a channel sponsor, check out the description. It's really easy to enter. You can get a lot more entries if you do things like my Facebook page, follow me on Twitter, follow like the TCG Player Twitter, things like that. So check it out. There's a link in the description. And that's going to be the video. So I'll catch you guys later. Subscribe for more Yu-Gi-Oh! Bye.